There's a finished lure at the beginning of this video. Goodness gracious. The word spiffy does not suffice. Look at that. Extremely bright silver flake in the clear coat too. All sorts of different patterns, color shift. Look at the top of that. Look at that. Anywho, this is a piece of Spanish red cedar that I've made this bait out of as well. Let's make another. I'm not just gonna make this again. Honestly, I don't know what I'm making, but it's gonna be out of this thick piece of Spanish red cedar that I got from a good friend. Slater, thank you. This is a wonderful type of wood to work with when you're making these, but it's got a potent dust that comes off of it. I was saying to Slater on Instagram how this wood acts when you sand it, and it tastes sour in the air. It's potent, but I love it still. I'll take sour air for good wood any day. And before we start, let me solidify my thoughts as of recently. An urge came over me to make these types of lures this winter. I don't know if I'll be selling them. It's a strong possibility because I'm gonna have a lot of these laying around for no real reason. I won't be able to fish them. It's winter. You just can't fish here in Iowa in winter unless the ice is on the water. And honestly, ice fishing's kind of lame. Just my opinion. Don't eat me alive about that. I'm just not as into it as a lot of people around here. So let's just make a bunch of these. I love this style of bait. This is a serious lure, believe it or not. If you're not familiar with this type of lure, this bad boy's got 3 epoxy clear coats on it. Between every clear coat, there are layers of paint. On the final layer, there's a flake in it. It's got glass eyes. I painted those glass eyes. Every gill detail you see, every fin detail, stenciled, airbrushed, fancy different kinds of stencils for different effects and different spots, color shift paints, carved to the realistic shape of a bluegill. It's that kind of stuff. It's really all I want to do this winter. Very excited about this. This is the kind of stuff I want to make, so let's do it. First step, humble yourself. You need a picture. I've been drawing lures for years and years, and every time I start out with a block of wood, I need a picture of a fish that I'm going for. Otherwise it looks worse than if you didn't do that. Debating hard right now. I don't know if I want to do a shad or if I want something else. Way over on the East Coast, there's a shad style fish that's pretty nifty. It's a beautiful fish. It is called a Menhaden fish, or I think most people call them bunker. Yeah, just get a load of the colors on that fish. That blue towards the head, the pink in the body, the greenish gold on the back. That's what we're making. Making a bunker. A short and stubby one. This is gonna be a round bait. And it just comes to a point in the back. It's that simple. It's really good to make the end points on any of your baits even. Like that's the center line. That's the top of the bait. And then the bottom of the bait back here, I want to be the same distance from the center line. Like I don't want the bottom of the bait come up to the center line. Like it just helps when you're looking at the bait, everything's symmetrical that way. You gotta be careful about that. This bunker just ate a lot. But if you start out with a nice symmetrical layout like this, and then you start cutting it and bring it over to your sander and stuff, and you're looking at the tiny little minutia details about it, and you can hit it just right. It'll look beautiful if you start out symmetrical like this. And I have the opportunity right now. I'm just going to choose the eyes that I want for this bait right now. And I have quite the dead meat custom pair of eyes to choose from right here. I'm thinking this one. Those are dark. I want bright. Eyeballs chosen. And they're 16 millimeters, which is over ½ inch. We're getting closer to 3/4 inch. Let's define where the eye socket's gonna go, and then we can know where we want our lip and everything. Yep. Here we got a small piece of the lip material for this bait. I think this might be 3/16, might be 1/4, not sure, but look at this. This lip material is going to run right into the eye socket, right through it. And I want a nice steep lip. Pretty much want this to be a wake bait. That is definitely steeper than 45 degrees. I drew one line on one side and then I moved it. Just cover that line up, and then I draw another line over here. And then it'll actually be the thickness of this. You can just cut right on the line. There. That's what we're starting with. To the bandsaw. Most fish, if you're looking at them from the top, they're a teardrop shape, like a head down teardrop shape. They're not fat right in the middle usually. They're fatter towards the front a little bit. And even with lure making and trying to get good actions out of these baits, that's actually the preferred shape if you want them to wiggle. The way I think about it is that there's center of gravity and then there's center of buoyancy on a lure. And you want those to match up. You want the center of the buoyancy, or the most pulling force when it comes to your lures floating and how much is it pulling and where is it pulling. You want that on the top, on the fattest part, and you want the weight on the fattest part too on the bottom, directly under it, so it pulls like it's pulling the bait apart. And then when you got something up here catching water evenly and making it wiggle, what's pulling the bait apart is keeping the bait stable in the water at the same time. So, I don't know. If you just keep that in mind, usually you end up having a lure with a very good action at the end. So, there's my secret. Dang it, I told you guys my secret. This is the belly, and I just marked out the fattest part on the belly where I want it. Now I'm marking out on the head evenly from each side of the bait and on the tail, some parameters. Then I go from the fattest part on the belly to those parameters and just draw a line. There's the teardrop shape from that direction, or no, this direction. But that's what we gotta go back to the bandsaw and cut out. What I need to do next is cut an eye socket so I know where this eye socket goes and I can carve around it. I just poked a couple of little holes just above the lip slot on evenly on both sides, exactly in the same spot. This is a 5/8 inch bit. I think that's gonna fit 16 millimeters perfectly. I didn't go very deep with it, but I don't need to because I'm gonna carve around it. Just bringing that knife edge right to the edge of that eye socket, but not going into it. That's gonna leave a bit of a ridge towards the nose, but that's good. That's gonna make the eye look better. I need to replace this blade or flip it around because it's dull. That's better. I'm in fine-tuning mode. Little bits of material here and there that need to be removed. I'm finding them and removing them with a vengeance. The shape's coming out perfect though. Okay, looky here. I'm figuring out where the lead needs to go. I sanded this thing. It's all the way down to 220. I did that unnecessarily because I like sanding. If I hold it right here and kind of let it loose, you can tell that this is not the center of gravity because it falls. I'm too far forward. I need to put the weight back a little bit. Let it loose, still falls. It's like right there. Hold it loose. That was it, right there. Like, you hold it so loose to where pretty much the bait can slip and it just falls. The whole thing just falls down. There's your center of gravity, right there. Center of gravity right there on the belly of this bait. 'Tis where the lead needs to go. That's how you figure that out. I'm really going into detail in this video. You're learning all about bait making right now. Here's my pokey thing. Oh, it was right next to me the whole time. Now you look down the center line of the bait, draw a line. So you get a perfectly centered lead hole. This is no joke, you need it perfectly centered. There's nothing worse than finishing a bait and then it's got this giant issue where it runs crooked. I hate that. You spend 5, 6, 7, 8 hours of hands-on time making a bait, and every time you fish it, it runs crooked. That is devastating. Center your lead hole. You got a 5/8 inch bit in there already. That's perfect. Wow. It's the little things. I usually put something like this down on the table of my drill press. Now, if you're not confident in putting fabric down on your drill press table, because the drill bit's gonna catch it and then catch your hand in it too and suck it up into the drill bit and just mangle it and turn it into ground beef, don't do it. If you're not confident with something like this, don't do that. Otherwise, go ahead and do it, because it's a fantastic way of not marring the back of your bait. These drill presses actually put a ton of pressure, like way more pressure than you can do with your hand. Probably like 250 pounds of force going down onto this lure. And yeah, you really do mar the back of your bait. I guess if you're fat, you could just use a hand drill and lean on it, but it's not the case in this situation. Fat bait makers unite. It's a big hole. That might be too much. I'm probably not gonna fill that up all the way. And my lead pot's not hot, but I don't care because this isn't a one day. I suppose I'll read comments, so. Ho, hey, ho, ho. Let's see what you fellas have had to say in the past over a week. I haven't posted in a while. You know how it goes. Not enough close-ups! Exclamation point. Too much you time. Just saying. If you get it, question mark. Love the personality though, exclamation point. Keep him, exclamation point. He's great, exclamation point. Funny, entertaining, etc. but needs to be streamlined, exclamation point. But you get the ED ingredients. Thanks for the input. Sometimes I just don't know what you guys are saying. It's official. I'm addicted to this channel. MMG, thanks man. Thank you for being addicted to my stuff. I love the videos. It's inspired me to make some lures, but also make balsa wood surfboard. That's pretty cool. Balsa wood surfboard's probably pretty light. I bet a shark could bite right through it though. I have some uncured clear coat on this table, and it just got my arm all sticky. Next comment. Be free started here, ... It's the deep diver crankbait one day. Yes, that's when Be Free started. I started saying be free to fish after I catch them. I caught a big pike on a deep diving crankbait, and I was so lost for words while I was releasing that fish. I felt like I needed to say something, and I ended up saying be free. One of the dumbest things I've ever said, but now I say it every catch. Let's get the propane torch away from the lead pot. Have I made a firefly lure yet? I'm saving that idea in order to incorporate LED lights into the butt of that lure and have it translucent and everything. That could be years down the road. I need to perfect some sort of process to have an LED butt in a firefly lure. This was about the last video, the mirror carp. Ugly, question mark, question mark. You're entitled to have your own opinion. Passive aggressive. Even if it's completely wrong, aggressive. Now where's the little scuba diver plastic lure you promised me? I promised nobody anything. I'm very, very consistent when it comes to not promising anybody anything. I'll tell people about things. I won't promise anything though. Would love a hedgehog lure. Those aren't porcupines, hedgehogs. Are those spiky? I'd have to figure out something for the spikes. A lot of creativity would need to be flowing for something like that. Great suggestion though. Here's a comment. Incontinence. Lack of voluntary control over urination or defecation. Thanks, Andrew. Thanks for the input. I probably said incontinence in that video at some point, but thank you. Okay, that's enough comments. See you when the lead's hot. Marking out a lip. Sorry, I got the music loud. I need to figure out what I want the shape of this lip to be. I could go with a coffin, I could go with a circle, a square, I could go with a hexagon, an octagon, a googlegon. Just kidding, that's not a shape. I'm thinking, man. Squarebill wake bait, Menhaden bunker bait fish. What you boys think about that? Because I'm thinking that, and it's gonna be exactly that shape, that width. Makes it easy on me. Squarebills are easy to cut. It's not precisely a squarebill. The sides taper in a bit towards the lip connection. The lead's not hot, by the way. Still waiting. For some reason, off camera, I sanded down these little notches on each side. Those are gonna fit flush with the eye sockets on this bait. It's gonna look spiffy. You'll see. Just getting everything else to 220 now. And then once you have everything to 220, grit, sandpaper, I use a strop. Just a stupidly smooth, beautiful edge. That gives it. That lead pot's gotta be hot by now. But here's how the lip looks. It friction fits, it just slides right in there and stays still. Friction fits perfectly. That's gonna give it enough space for glue and everything to be in there after I sand the edge and glue it in. That lip's not going anywhere. Very good lip. See how before the eye socket it's sanded down. That's perfect. That means an eye will fit flush, just like this. But that lip still goes through the eye socket and is super secure deep into that bait. I'm gonna put the line tie through the lip too, the screw that goes through there. Perfect. Lead's hot. And it's about to smell good in here. If my lead plot would stop being clogged. Spanish red cedar, it smells delicious when it burns. It smells like it should be deodorant or something. Yeah. I'll be here another 30 seconds. Okay, I think that's enough. That feels nice and belly heavy, and it has some delicious smelling smoke coming off of it. But refrain yourself from smelling that, because that cannot be good for you. Super glue and baking soda. I already had that lead hole covered in super glue, and then I put some baking soda on it, and then I cover it back up with super glue. That's how I do it. I think you get really full, even coverage when you do that. Get a better seal on the lead hole too. If a drip goes down the side, just wipe it off before it hits the jaw vices, or the vice jaws. And super glue just peels off of your finger after about an hour. I get a lot of questions and guys concerned about me touching super glue with my finger. It's no big deal. It doesn't, if you just wipe it off, it doesn't burn, and then it just peels off later. And you got a perfectly fine finger afterwards, unless you have some horrible allergic reaction. I don't recommend that you do this, it's fine if I do it, okay? Pilot holes were just drilled. I'm scuffing up the lip where it needs to be glued into the body a little bit here. Like that. I'm just gonna put it in place, take my sweet time, make sure it's in place in the correct spot. This is no joke. This is a serious step right here. Get serious, put it in the right spot. I look down the back and see if the lip is coming out straight from the nose, from the top. And then I look down the belly. I close one eye, just like you're aiming. I know a lot of people when you're target shooting, they say don't close one eye. I usually close one eye, but I close one eye when I'm doing this so I have one perspective point. I try to find the center line of the bait with my eye and make sure the lip is going straight down that and it's even on both sides. It's very even the way it is, just right here. Where's my glue? There's my glue. You just drop your glue on it. Drop your glue into the seams. Done. On one side. Get your nozzle right there and get some glue on the lip and on the wood and let it run down. And it's glued in. It got full coverage. It's against every surface. That liquid super glue, it runs like crazy. It's like less viscous than water even. So it gets everywhere. It's like an oil, a really runny oil. I have to come back now and drill through this lip a little bit. I like to treat Lexan a lot like aluminum and don't just shove your bits into it, let it cut, or you're gonna start drifting. But there, if I polished down there, you'd be able to see the drill bit hole going through that lip, but there is definitely a hole going through that lip, and the line tie is gonna secure that lip in even more. So that lip's not going anywhere. Back to sanding. Let's get this screw eye blasted through that Lexan. A lot of the times it helps to do it quick, and that was quick, so fits perfect. Add some glue. Very, very tight in there. Straighten it out before the glue dries. That's a perfect line tie. That's what I do for both the hook hangers too, so. That's it. After all that, it is simply time to just seal this wood. Oil-based polyurethane. I generally use satin, clear satin finish. I think it accepts the paint just a bit better. Disposable chip brush. First I dip it all the way to the lip, then I just kind of droop the rest over like that, applying it very liberally because the rest is just going to drip off before it dries. Making sure the bristles on this brush come all the way up to the lip and touch it. I want polyurethane to flow into that seam too. That's it. It's a sealed bait. Just gotta let it dry. Beautiful wood. Absolutely stunning. Long time later, and this wood is most definitely sealed. I even gave it the sniff test. I'm gonna try something different. We're gonna start with white. I'm not doing that differently. After that, I'm gonna add something to the first clear coat that just might knock your socks off. I don't know, we'll see. I tape up this lip though and get to spraying. Got some detail sepia in the brush. Very dark, muddy, disgusting green color is gonna go on the top. With these fish, if you want to get really colorful, you kind of have to exaggerate the colors. This is an illustration of exaggerated colors on a Menhaden. But that red that you saw, I'm gonna go for. Darker though. Let's stay dark with it because this is the base. So a brownish red, oxide red. Right in the middle of the body. Just need to be careful not to make it look too stupid, you know? That's really all you're doing when you're painting. Every step, don't make it look too stupid. Remember, these are exaggerated colors. Turned out very orange, but don't worry, you can turn orange into red pretty quick. Once again, I did something off camera. I added blue. As you can really tell, I added blue. I'm gonna use some very, very bright fluorescent red and go back over that orange a little bit. Just to solidify that that is red. I liked what that red was doing to the other colors and I sprayed it everywhere. Now it's kind of purplish towards the head. That's cool. There we have some stupidly exaggerated colors on the base of this bait. As for the clear coat, this is called Interference Blue by Pearl X. This will be added to the clear coat. That's gonna tame all these colors, it's gonna give the bait a ton of depth, and it's gonna put a color in the clear coat too, over some other ones, so there's just gonna be stuff playing off each other like crazy on this bait. But first clear coat, coming right up. Bob Smith Industries 30-minute slow cure epoxy. Works as a fantastic clear coat for lures. On a lure this size, I do 0.2 ounce of hardener and then 0.19 ounce of just the resin. I always add just a smidge more hardener. It makes it so it definitely all hardens. But I still stir it like a maniac as well. And I don't even care if I put bubbles in this. I can get the bubbles out later. I just want to make sure it's all stirred. I mean, I don't purposely whip bubbles into it, but I stir it at about this pace the whole time. I don't get faster than this, but I stir it for a long time, probably 5 minutes, maybe 4 minutes. That's gonna give me another like 5 minutes to apply it to the bait, and then I put it on a rotisserie over here. Oh, and I add some denatured alcohol to this too. I almost forgot to do that. Like 5 drops to that amount I just had in there. And I have to add the pearl stuff. What am I doing? So I'm gonna just go with this Interference Blue first. Put a healthy amount in there. See what that looks like after stirring it in. Ooh, that is blue. Blue. Wow. Okay, so maybe to cut the blue a little bit, I'm gonna add some texture. Some very small silver flake. That might help a lot. This will still be translucent, but I do need to get rid of a lot of the color I just put on the body of this bait. That's looking swell. Just spiffy as heck right here. It's like unicorn diarrhea. Looks amazing. Get rid of some of the surface bubbles really quick. I got my brush. I've cleared it of any loose bristles by doing this many times. Still getting some bristles, 1 second. Okay. Ooh, wow. That is no joke. I stirred that clear coat forever. It's starting to set up, but it's fine. We're only doing one bait here, so I'm gonna finish applying it and get full coverage, and then when I put it on the rotisserie, I can use the brush and make the striations of powder go in a specific direction that I want, like with the lines of the body of this bait while it's on the rotisserie. Probably plug my rotisserie in. Plug-in issues once again. Here we go. This powder stuff, it's having a tendency of wanting to clump up on itself, like form little gangs of little powder clusters in this clear coat. Kind of annoying, but it might turn out well. Like that could put a pattern on this bait that's really natural, and I just, as I paint the rest of it, go with those patterns, you know? So, not worried about it. Looks fantastic. That's exactly what I was going for. There's still a ton of color, but I didn't want this clear coat to take all that color away. My airbrush will, and I'll decide where I do and don't want the color. Trying to get some light here where you guys can see the clear coat. I mean, obviously you can see the flake, but that foggy interference blue is gorgeous. That worked out good. It's the next day. I'm cutting up a gill stencil right here, right now. Yeah, these dudes got quite the gill structure. A lot of gillage going on right there. And the first thing I'm gonna do after this clear coat is define where these gills need to go. And I want something like that. This point up here almost passes the eye. That point touches the lip. That just lets me know while I'm painting scales or any other details on this, the gills are right there, and I don't need to get too crazy with anything I'm doing past the gills. They're gonna be painted separately. The bait is all netted up. Tons of clamps. Big bait. Barely had enough window screen to be able to do this, but first thing we're gonna shoot for scales on this bait is platinum. It almost goes to a gold, this stuff. But we're gonna hit it hard with this stuff and take a lot of that color away. I learned the other day that this fish gathers the largest schools in the world of fish. You can see them from space. It's called the most important fish in the world because they're like oily and they're a giant source of bait fish and stuff. We're not doing fun facts in this video, but I learned that the other day. Now, up top here, I'm gonna put some silver, I'm gonna put some gold, I might even put a little bit of green. I'm gonna put some colors up top. Okay, I put some silver all the way along the back, and then I just put towards the front of the back some gold. That should look pretty freaking awesome, but we got one more step here, 1 sec. Interference green mixed into a transparent base. I'm going along the back now, and I'm coming under the gold a little bit that I sprayed. There, that's some serious paint right there. And I don't know if I'm being repetitive, but I just wanna point out, like, look at the bait now. Remember all the colors that were on the bait? The screen is hiding a lot of those colors. Those colors are still gonna be there and probably be too much still, but you take step by step by step to tone down colors that you put too much of on the bait, and it ends up being perfect. That's how I like to paint baits usually. None of this is probably that sophisticated. I'm just talking a lot about this because I like doing it, but you know, paint however you want. It's ready, I think. Better be. Ooh, that opened up nicely. That's good. That's very good. I can't see as much of that interference green as I wanted to, but we can still do stuff to change that. You can see a tiny bit. I think that's a fantastic scale pattern, scale size, and everything. I would say those colors are getting there. The next step, it seems simple, but it's probably the most important step. Where to put a bunch of platinum back on the body to cover up these colors. I'm like, you see how there's red and blue And then I'm thinking right between the red and the blue, down the body, the scales are gonna go away and it's gonna get replaced with a nice thick coat of pearl platinum. Let me get the picture back up. These fish are bright, and there's different levels of color in all of these fish, but you can see they're bright. They're like a white fish almost. So down the body under the red, you see the red on that bunker right there. I'm gonna go with some platinum. Yes. That's all I have to say is yes. Okay, back to some gills. I'm gonna put some white on them, redefine them a little better, but I'm not gonna be so liberal with the paint. I'm gonna hold back a bit. Small steps, it's healthy. Small sections at a time. The airbrush is an amazing tool. It can be very accurate, and you can do small sections at a time with it if you're patient. For up here, white is not the right color, but that's not the color it's gonna be up here when I'm done, but I can put a little bit. Okay. I don't look like much, but that's gonna be a beautiful gill structure, in my humble opinion. So occasionally when I'm painting lures, I hit a panic mode, and I just did. Stuff stops looking correct, you start doing things, and then you just made it worse. And you do that a couple times over, and you're in straight up panic mode. And I was there for a second, but I fixed it. Looks fantastic. As you can see, things got darker. I needed it too. A lot of the time, darker is more natural. Let's not get into that right now. Let's keep talking about this. Tiny little detail brush. I went in on all the seams, almost all the seams. And then, as you can see, I outlined all the gill detail with a liner brush. Before I did that, I was going back and forward with black and white, just trying to get the pattern correct, but the liner brush really did it. That made it look fantastic. And as you can imagine, I recorded none of that because I was in panic mode. A lure painting scramble. I came out on top. There is not much more needed on this bait. Bunch of colors are gonna go into the gills, make them look very vibrant and beautiful. I need some dots, some Menhaden bunker dots along the body. Need to finish that fin, glue the eye on. I think 2 coats is good enough for this bait. When it comes to epoxy clear coats, you don't actually need more than 1. They're very thick and extremely durable. Maybe musky fishing, you want a couple or a few, but 2's plenty. You're gonna have a lure that could potentially last you your entire life after 2 really good epoxy clear coats. Well applied epoxy clear coats. So yeah, let me get the rest of the details on this. Might be a bit of a montage. I might not show you anything. I might just show you the finished bait when I'm gluing on the eye, but I'm gonna get the rest of the details on this, and yeah, I'm liking this bait. I do enjoy going through a little bit of a struggle, and then it looks good. Man, I am just doing all sorts of crazy stuff to this bait. That was color shift. Woo! It's probably the stupidest noise I've ever made on YouTube. Look what that did. That's color shift purple to green. Much more purple than anything else. And as you could see, I really colored it up on the gills there. Lots of blue. These fish actually have that. Not nearly as much as I put on this lure, but they have it, so. Sometimes the backings on these can be tricky to peel off. It's best to have them peeled off and then put your super glue on the bait, because it can take you a solid 1 minute sometimes to peel that off. And this bait deserves nothing less than a Dead Meat Customs beautiful, amazing eye that we chose at the beginning of this video. Ooh. And it just got that much more special. Wow. If somebody's able to paint a glass eye that well, I suppose you don't need Dead Meat Custom eyes, but I'm not capable of that, and that did a lot for this bait. That is gorgeous. So I wanted to show you guys too how I do the spines on the side fins with a pencil. Seriously, I think this looks amazing. A pencil and a straight edge. As you go down the back of the fin, you space that out further than the front, and it ends up looking pretty natural. This is my favorite way of making spines. It's quick and easy, and it looks amazing. Because the spines on a fish, they are a ridge, like a point. They don't fade down, it's just a bump. And with the pencil's graphite, it's almost like the spines are pearlized as well, and then they get dark and more defined, and at different angles it goes back to pearl. I have already clear coated a bait in this video once, so I didn't bother showing it again, but this bait is clear coat once again. Once again. That's a word, right? Spiffy. So satisfying making baits like this. Taking your time, doing everything right, getting a beautiful result. Hallelujah. Look at that. We're tied up. It's on a big rod. Let's see how much it weighs actually. Whoops. 3.1 ounces. I will not be going to multiple spots just to try to catch a fish with this thing at this time of the year. No, thank you. Because it gets cold and it gets boring because fish don't bite. But who knows? Maybe I'll catch like 20 of them today. Floats. Oh, wow. This, watch. I just tossed it in the water. And I was like, oh, it floats. And I just reel a tiny bit. And it's just, sorry, I get excited about that kind of stuff. Beautiful action, right off the bat. It's a wake bait for sure, at this speed. This is a beast rocket reel, by the way. It's got a 9.2 to 1 gear ratio, so reeling this fast with this reel is like reeling normal with any other reel, like this fast. If you do want to rip it a little bit, like look at this thing. Look how much water it disturbs, like the turbulence and stuff on the surface is like 2 feet out from each side of the bait. It's crazy. It just poof. Yeah. Jeez. All right, let's fish this thing around a bit, get us a pikey poo. I would love to make it official on a Menhaden very shallow diving crankbait with a pike in the middle of November. I'm giving this bait some hook rash, dang it. I don't know if I want to sell it or not. I just don't know. I guess I'll be making a ton of these, so. Okay, let's put it away. God forbid I backlash and snap it off and it's in the middle of this pond. And let's put it away. Let's go back to the shop. I suppose when it comes to selling baits, I personally have no issue. I've sold thousands of baits in my life. Not ones like this. Way back in the day, I don't know, you can go on eBay, you can go on the internet and find a lot of instances where, like old baits that I've sold. This is a super old one. This is probably 2014. I went by the name of BGM Baits back then. I probably sold this thing for like $8, 12 bucks maybe. It's been resold for $70 shipped. That's one of the concerns I've had when it comes to selling baits is people are gonna resell these things for stupid amounts of money. And that's not fair, not to me, I don't care. I put the price on it and sell it and that's what I wanted, but when it gets resold, it's like the person could have got that for the normal price instead of 4 times as much as the first person paid. It gets weird with high demand, it gets very weird. Yeah, I don't know. Auction format, listed as retail, just that's the price of it, sell it format, best offer format. I'm not gonna do eBay. If I sell baits, I'm not doing eBay. Never again. They take 10% of whatever you sell. It's a lot, considering you have to pay taxes and there's excise tax on fishing lures and that's 10%. And then eBay takes 10% and the government takes 30%. You're left with half of what you got. And then there's the expense and time, so then what's that worth to you? If you're making fishing lures, there you go. That's all the expense and time that you have to think about when you price your baits. But yeah, I have no confusion about what these are worth and what people will pay and stuff. And I get it. I just don't know if I want to do it. You commit to something like that and people start expecting stuff of you like that, and then sometimes you don't want to do that. And I run a YouTube channel for a living, so I'll sell some. I'll sell some and then I'll share with you the process of selling lures. That might be interesting. Marling Baits Bait Shop, open for business. Get your stupidly fancy crankbaits if you have a lot of money. A lot of people want these. They've been asking me for this for years, so here we go. Open for business. Thanks for hanging out, watching how this was made. It's been real. Information on how to buy this bait, if you're gonna try to buy this bait, is in the description. On to the next bait. It's potent. I even gave it the sniff test. Oh, I'm just not as into it as a lot of people around here. Ooh. I'm in fine tuning mode. Ooh. It's like unicorn diarrhea.